One of the initiatives here at 2 News is working to prevent bullying. And a new bill at the state capitol aims to do just that. It tackles new areas not previously covered by Oklahoma law. 2 News anchor Russ McCaskey finds out more about the legislation and efforts to stop bullying in tonight's To the Point.
We're with Julie Summers, and she's part of a anti-bullying collaboration here in Tulsa. They've been working on some legislation to kind of enhance the bullying laws that are already on the books. Tell us a little bit about the legislation this year and a little bit about the good news, I guess, that you received this week.
Well, the Oklahoma House of Representatives has a bill before them that would strengthen the existing bullying law. And it went to the Common Ed Committee this week and passed 15-1, so that sends it to the House floor. And this is a bill that would strengthen the law that already exists by just adding some teeth to it, making it more comprehensive.
And cyberbullying has been a major factor, and this is going to talk a little bit about that, and it kind of adds in a few extra details. What are some of those things that you're looking at strengthening when it comes to cyberbullying?
Well, at present, the law is kind of vague because a lot of technologies have been added to the repertoire of what's available since the law was passed. So this addresses specifically texting and gaming platforms, social media, different forms of media like that are not currently explicit in the law.
Yeah, and that's really an important thing, because in the old days, you know, if a child was being bullied or whatever, they might be able to move to a different school district or whatever, but the cyberbullying seems to follow these kids no matter where they go, especially with the Facebook and Twitter. And like you said, even with some of the gaming and things like that, the kids jump on and pick on the kids.
That's right, Russ. And you know, I think you and I probably experienced bullying as name calling in a particular school district or whatever, but as you say, with cyberbullying, it follows kids and they can't get away from it.
You know, and one of the things that I think that this law does that I think a lot of people think would be good is it would have like a central reporting system for all school districts. So because right now I guess some schools are actually doing a good job of keeping records on bullying and bullying incidents, and others not so much, right?
That's exactly right. And for instance, the Tulsa district works really hard at keeping records and so forth. However, in some of the smaller districts and rural areas, there's not a lot of information available to the State Department or to track statewide what's going on. So this would set up a standard reporting procedure and collect the data and report it out annually. And
there's some provisions in here to kind of help out kids with some of the mental health kind of things, counseling, some of those kinds of issues, and that can be pretty valuable as well.
Right. The existing law does already support school districts providing mental health services to students, mental health substance abuse, but this specifies that both the perpetrator and the child that was bullied probably need to be evaluated. It doesn't mandate it, but it merely addresses that there's a broader need than the current law states.
You know, so we had our big bullying special, and you were here that night to answer phones and so forth. We had a really big turnout, and we had a lot of phone calls. I think there was more than 40 phone calls that came in that night, which really kind of speaks to the fact that this is a topic of major concern, and there's a lot of people out there who are hurting and may need some help.
That's exactly right. And one of the things that I was particularly surprised about is that we're learning that it's not just kids in school, it's also some adults in workplaces. And so I think opening up the conversation about bullying is having sort of a cascading effect in the wider community.
And so what's the result of that? Do you think that more awareness is going to help play a role in solving this issue, or at least making it that it's a smaller issue than it is now?
No, I think you're absolutely right, Russ, that by the greater we can raise awareness and the more that we can educate people about what bullying is and what they can do to prevent it, the greater the likelihood is that people will stop and take notice.
Yeah, and specifically when it comes to this legislation, there's concern among a lot of the school administrators that it's going to cost money and so forth, and they're already strapped financially. Is this going to cost a lot of money, or can it be done in a way that's fairly efficient?
It will not cost very much money. This is a matter of providing teachers and school administrators and others that have contact with students with the tools they need to identify bullying and deal with it. And teachers want to do this. They want to help their students to avoid situations that are hurtful to them. But this is just giving them some additional training to make that possible.
Yeah, and even makes their classroom maybe a little more cohesive if they can.
Exactly.
All right, Julie, thanks so much. We'll be watching the legislation this year.
All right.
And we want to remind you there's an entire section of our website dedicated to anti-bullying efforts. It's kjrh.com/bullying. You can watch our primetime special, sign a pledge to stop bullying, and get the resources if you're a victim or know someone who is. Plus, much more, all on kjrh.com.